out of there. If that's true, thousands, including young children, could have been drinking and cooking with the contaminated water for months. Cases like these represent a failure of our cities to protect the basic human rights like access to clean, safe water to poor communities in the U.S.
So we have on the air today Victor Monterrosa, who's an organizer with the Newark Water Campaign, and he's going to talk Newark Water Coalition, and he's going to talk about the VMA Awards, which are happening at Prudential Center in Newark for the first time in 35 years, but some folks over there have some other plans. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How
Hi,
are
Victor.
you?
So why are you out there tonight, and what's the issue that is going on?
Well, we've been trying to get national attention to this problem for about a year now. One of the leaders of the Newark Water Coalition, he has been monitoring the numbers carefully for a while, and he saw the spike in lead, and he early on communicated with the NRDC and was very concerned about this, tried to bring this to the attention of the administration, but there was no reaction, and instead, once the numbers got out, we got phone calls from a robocall from Mayor Rasbaraka saying the water's absolutely fine. There were press releases saying the water is drinkable. Next thing you know, it's like, maybe you should use the filter. Then it was like, okay. Actually, even before that, it only affects the schools. It doesn't
The schools, because
affect
that's not a big deal either.
exactly. And then it's like, oh, no, it does affect the homes. And then, a year later, now we're at the level where, the filters that we passed out don't work. The 39,000 people, which are really a drop in the bucket compared to the almost 400,000 people that live in the city. But the administration is really proud that they passed out almost 30,000 filters, but they're all faulty. And so a lot of folks, when we heard that the VMAs were coming, we thought we have to take some type of action, do a demonstration, become visible. And fortunately, over the last few months, it didn't take the VMAs. This has become a lot more of a hot button issue because the levels have surpassed Flint. I know, Juliana, you were saying that this is Flint-like, but the lead levels have surpassed Flint, and now we are in solidarity, or we've been receiving a lot of support from the folks from Flint, and there's a bus from Detroit coming down today.
Wow.
There's people.
Victor,
from all
I
over
have
the
a
city.
question for you. Have you been able to secure via maybe Twitter or anything for some support from maybe someone who will speak to the issue from the stage of the VMAs?
We've attempted. If you look at our Twitter and Instagram feed, Clean Water #4 Newark, Clean Water 4 Newark, we have for the last few weeks engaged in the campaign where every celebrity you can think of, we have been asking them to please say something about it, about the fact that you can't drink the water here right now, that you have to buy bottled water if you want to drink water here. And we really hope that someone will. We hope that someone will say something from the stage, or even from the audience. I hope that audience members stand up. Maybe folks will wear our shirts, or somebody will say something, because we need to bring attention to this.
Victor, this is probably the first or biggest crisis that Mayor Rasbaraka has had. But can you confirm whether this goes back further? I mean, we're hearing some stirrings that this also happened or may have started on current presidential candidate Cory Booker's watch.
Absolutely, King. And I'm very happy you said that, because I think we have to really problematize the neoliberal approach that Mr. Booker took. Mr. Booker wanted to privatize the Newark watershed, and he put in millions of dollars into this private effort to try to sell off the watershed. And three of the people who were running that project were indicted and pled guilty to federal charges. that effort obviously didn't work because the city of Newark still owns its watershed. But once that effort to sell off, to privatize our water failed, Mr. Booker did absolutely nothing about it. The water continued in bad shape. And when I was a little boy, and I used to go to public school here in Newark, I remember we had signs on the walls that said, "Let the water run," that the pipes have lead, that Newark has a serious lead problem, and it just ended up fading into history. So not only, I know we definitely want to say what happened during these 3 terms of Mr. Booker, but this goes back even to Sharp James. Newark has been ignored, and now we have to bring attention to it. Mr. Baraka, Mr. Booker, Mr. James, they could have asked the county to do something. They could have asked the state to do something. They could have asked the federal government to do something. It never happened. So it takes this level of a crisis where absolutely everyone in the city is now in trouble for us to have to say anything. And you know what? You will hear, it affects everywhere except the East Ward. But the East Ward has only 50,000 of Newark's 400,000 residents, and it's mostly taken up by the airport. So that's fine. That's cool. That's great that the East Ward isn't getting that.
Thank goodness the airport isn't getting, bad water.
Yeah, thank God the tourists will be safe, but or the folks coming in and out. You know what? Growing up, people used to tell me, I thought Newark was an airport. I didn't know Newark was a city. And so it's still a very big problem for all.
Well, those people can just breathe in the pollution from the jets, so they don't have to worry about that. They got their own.
Yeah.
I love the song you just played because this brings us to another issue. We talk about frontline communities when we talk about environmental justice issues. This is an environmental justice issue. This is an environmental racism. You don't see in other cities that the problem is this bad. And
I didn't notice. At first it was Flint, and now it's Newark. Where's the white city where it's happening? Where's the affluent city where this is happening?
And let's be real. Any of the cities where white flight took place, or any of the suburbs that started up, or any places where wealthy folks live, they have brand new cities with better pipes. They knew not to use lead pipes, and they live in places where they probably get bottled or filtered water anyway. So for these reasons, today we're saying we want independent lead testing of individuals. We want mandatory independent testing and monitoring of every house and apartment unit. We want an installation of adequate filtration systems in every home. We want a release of honest and truthful educational material from City Hall because like I said, City Hall has given has been very misleading, and we need them to be honest and truthful.
Let me jump in here for a second because we want to make sure you get in. So what's planned for tonight?
Tonight, 5 o'clock, let's meet at Penn Station, folks, WBAI listeners. We want to see you
Penn
today.
Station in Newark.
Penn Station in Newark, that's correct. Penn Station in Newark, you take the pass, you can take the NJ Transit. We're gonna meet there, and then we're going to take off from there. Eventually, we will have a rally after a march that we're gonna do. We're gonna have a rally in front of Senator Menendez and Senator Booker's office, which are both right across from Penn Station.
We're speaking with Victor Monterrosa, organizer with the Newark Water Coalition. This sounds really fun and exciting as an action. Are you encouraging people to bring signs and bring visible whatnots?
Absolutely. Come out, be seen, and get ready. Because
you could wear your prom dress, like your ball gown, right? Because aren't the people on the inside going to be wearing these ball gowns and whatnot?
Yeah, just
That's right.
have something comfortable on your feet.
With sneakers.
Yes, please.
No heels. I won't be.
Absolutely. And they already rolled out the red carpet. There's literally a red carpet installed on Market Street, something I never thought I would see in my entire life. But so there is a possibility, that there will be celebrities there. You can definitely blend in with them. They've been asking us if we're going to mix in with the.
Yes, you are.
But
Victor, what time?
A huge open space. This is at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Penn Station.
Let me just drop something else in, because with this big event downtown at Prudential Center, the police have to be kind of edgy and deployed. Are there all kinds of issues with streets being closed and areas being set aside so that celebrities can get in and out? Are you facing any of that stuff? Well, I already know the answer, but what are you dealing with in terms of that stuff?
Absolutely. It's very strange. On Saturday morning, the police somehow found one of the leaders and tried to get him to commit to putting the demonstration zone about a mile and a half away from the VMAs.
Out at Giant Stadium or somewhere, right?
Right, exactly. Just far, far away, somewhere, nowhere near Prudential Center, and this isn't rocket science. Like, folks, this is the type of thing that happens pretty often in the history of the United States. The police, unfortunately, have been overstepping and attempting to bully us into take their route, but we want to be seen. We want to be at the VMAs, and we want to have an orderly protest there. But yes, certainly, the police have, up until last night, even tried to stop us from having this demonstration visibly. Also, they've even tried to, or someone, I don't know if this is the police, but someone called up the place where we are having our meetings and started telling them that we're apparently opposing a fireman's funeral, and so they tried to ruin our relationship with the people there. But there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of attempts to sabotage this event.
Victor, I hope you get 39,000 families out there at Penn Station in Newark tonight.
Yes.
All the families and all the family loved ones of those families and all the people of conscience of the city of Newark and all people who are worried that it's going to bleed into their town. Now, my one quick question before we're at the end of the segment is, why do they have to, adjudicate it in the homes? Is it because there's no hope that they're going to change the pipes?
I'm sorry. Can you say it?
Why do they have to fix the lead as it kind of reaches the spigot in your home? Is there no hope that the city will fix the pipes, will change out the pipes, or can they treat it in another way?
Yeah, the problem was that they let out an inhibitor, and that started corroding the lead in some pipes. And apparently, Newark has not all of Newark pipes are lead pipes, but several of the service pipes that go into the homes are lead pipes. And so not all buildings are affected because a large building, an apartment building, won't use a lead pipe. They can't handle that volume. But the family homes, the two-family homes, the the smaller apartment buildings, they will use lead service pipes. So
Got it.
What we're also encouraging the city to do is to enter a program where a landlord would be able to participate in remediating that and receive some type of discount and have a payment plan. The city has something similar right now, but they really aren't being aggressive with it at all.
Victor, boy, there's so much more to talk about, and I do hope you will come back on, including, are there legal challenges to what's happening as the ACLU stepped in? What's happening?
NRDC is leading a legal battle, and they're trying to get some orders to force the city of Newark to take some steps. It's going. I believe there's a decision coming up sometime soon because I think there was a trial about last week, and
Great.
We're waiting to hear from something.
Well, the sooner the better. It only takes a little bit of lead to hurt someone. You can find out more at Clean Water for Newark. The action is today at 5 p.m. at Newark's Penn Station. We've been speaking with Victor Monterrosa of Newark Water Coalition, and thanks for coming on the show.
And I'll see.
Power to the people.
And I'll see you there. All power to the people.
And thank you.
All power to the people.
And thank you to King for arranging this segment and getting this. We've been talking about needing to get some folks on the air about this.
Well, you know where all this started, Remember? Thanks to the caller, and I don't remember her name, who asked us about donating water.
Donating
and so
water.
it
So we
set the
started
whole thing in
looking up.
motion.
Yeah.
So once again, the listeners come through. Thank you all.
You're listening to WBAI 99.5 FM in New York City. It's Monday. It's Monday. Are you up? 7:30. It's a beautiful day. It's going up to 77 degrees. It's going to be a little bit cloudy. We're looking at a bunch of nice days in a row. We'll be right back after this.
Clean water is a basic necessity and it's a human right.
I requested my water tested. A month later, after asking and asking, I found out my home is 44.2 parts per billion, which is almost 3 times the federal action level. I have five classes, so I have almost 100 students. A large number of my students are asking me for water every day. Finally, the mayor, after a lot of pressure, acquiesced, and in October of 2018, he started handing out filters.
With the help of the EPA, we tested 4 water filters in 3 homes. 2 of those water filters came back where the lead was not reduced to a level that we were comfortable with. We absolutely do not have enough information one way or another to determine whether the filters are working or not.
They said, well, if you have a lead service line now, it costs so much money. We want residents actually paying $1,000. So within our lawsuit, it was also asked, we don't want any resident incurring an expense of $1,000. In addition, everybody should have filters. In addition, we want education for everybody, especially if you're elderly, especially if you don't have internet. And in our community, everybody doesn't.
Is it going to get better? It will not get better in the absence of action. And that is where, in particular, we need federal help.
It was Flint, Michigan in 2016. It was the Newark school system in 2016. It was Denmark, South Carolina 4 months ago. And now it's the whole municipality of Newark. And it could be any city.
Water really is a human right, so fix it.
As economic inequality continues to grow, and prominent politicians, we just heard in Linda's newscast, like Bernie Sanders and also Elizabeth Warren, go after the biggest CEOs who perpetrate it, businesses are beginning to see the warning signs that they cannot continue to take advantage of ordinary Americans and chip away at the middle class without consequence, the leadership of the Business Roundtable has recently decided to take into account stakeholders outside of shareholders, big doings, when it comes to their decision making. But writer and now guest William Rivers Pitt of Truthout argues that an economic system that has its foundation in slavery really cannot be fixed with some, small actions like this. William is on Waking Up today to share his take. Hi, I'm so excited that you're here with us today. I've been reading you forever.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here myself. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm also here in the studio with King Downing.
Good morning. And thanks
Good morning. I hope
thanks for getting up.
Oh, no doubt. I hope you're both wearing sweatshirts.
I know it's cold now.
I
Suddenly.
froze. I didn't
Freezing
prepare.
here in New Hampshire.
You're in New Hampshire?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can you talk about what the Business Roundtable is, by the way, first of all? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Business Roundtable is everyone's heard of the. The Business Roundtable is a cohort of huge corporations. You might not have heard of the Business Roundtable, but you've heard of just about everybody who's involved in it. Jamie Dimon was one.
Demon, I like that. I thought it was Diamond, but I prefer Demon.
I always call him Demon. J.P. Morgan and all the rest of them.
J.P. Horgan. We could change all the names.
J.P. Mortgage.
J.P. Mortgage.
J.P. Mortgage. That's beautiful. They're basically their existence. They've been around since about 1972, and their purpose has been to bend the economy to their will. Their will being anti-worker, anti-consumer. They killed any number of pieces of legislation looking for fair wages and fair working practices. They were right up Bill Clinton's nostril about regulations in the 90s and won just about every one of those fights.
Nostril, huh?
So they are put. Everybody.
Sorry.
We're just having fun here.
Everybody has heard of the Chamber of Commerce, but the Business Roundtable, they're a little bit. They're not as showy,
slightly under the radar. Yeah.
They are very much. They're very much a motivating force within the American economy, and they are not your friends.
William, are the Koch brothers corporations part of this bill? Roundtable, and how do we feel about the death of? I know this is slightly off topic here, but the death of David Koch.
Guy went to a newsstand every morning, read the front page, threw the paper away. He did this every day for years. Finally, the guy running the newsstand says, "Sir, what are you looking for?" The paper boy, the guy says, "The obituaries." The guy running the newsstand says, "Sir, those are on page B35." The guy says, "When the bastard I'm looking for dies, it'll be on the front page." That's how I feel.
That's the right answer. Oh, we're having a good time. So let's talk about, in your piece, you talk about ways that the most powerful CEOs in America are changing the way they view their decisions and who should benefit. Can you talk about that change? It doesn't seem like we should trust it.
They're not actually changing anything. This is sort of like you have to understand there's no, one of the things that the Business Roundtable is a massive lobbying firm. Now, they are not lobbying each other or Congress to de-emphasize the role of the power of shareholders and the nature of American capitalism. They are saying, wow, those are pitchforks and torches on the horizon. This is getting really, really scary. Maybe we should make some mouth noises about how we really care about everybody before, they burn our mansions down.
Yeah, I think it's too late.
That is essentially what this is.
It's slightly too late.
That is essentially what this is. Now, I'd like to, without getting lost in the weeds of this particular topic, it was fascinating to me what a national Rorschach test the death of Jeffrey Epstein was. You don't want to get into the whys and the wherefores and all that, because that's 10,000 conversations. But virtually everybody looked straight up the food chain and said, nope, that was you. Straight up the economic food chain, I mean to say. And went, nope, that was you. Now, if that isn't a canary in the coal mine for these people, I mean, it's one thing that you get a few nitwits running around thinking that Hillary Clinton is running a pedophile ring out of a pizza cellar, but nobody believed that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Everybody thought that somebody did it.
Of course.
Everybody thought that somebody did it, and the somebody can be conversed on until the stars burn out. But the fact that everybody looked up the economic food chain and said it was you should give these people a deep moment of pause.
Oh, really? So they've paused? I don't hang out in those circles because.
No.
Yikes.
I think they're more squares. I think they're more squares than circles. It's easier to build walls that way.
Let's talk about the fact that you can't fix anything that was built on slavery. That's a great headline, and I want to dig into your thoughts about that. And what did you mean?
Well, very briefly, the New York Times, over the course of the last few weeks, the New York Times Magazine ran this huge thing called the 1619 Project, celebrating what they mark as the 400th anniversary of chattel slavery arriving on U.S. shores. It's not actually the anniversary; it had been going on for a while before that, but that's where they set their peg on the historic timeline. One of the articles they wrote was how before there was any kind of big business in the United States, before there were banks, before there were mortgages, the biggest, hugest, most massive business in the country was slavery, and the rails upon which American capitalism now runs were set on that cruel and evil institution, right down to data collection, right down to the management and oversight of workers, worker production, anything you can think of, mortgages. The Jefferson mortgaged 150 enslaved people to build Monticello. There were more millionaires in Mississippi than there were anywhere else in the country. The money was in New Orleans and not in New York. And the cruelty of modern American capitalism finds its roots in the institution of slavery. So how far back? I mean, you've got these billionaires sitting up there talking about reform and not taking not leaning on shareholder return as being the end all be all, putting Milton Friedman on the shelf finally, and essentially is what they're talking about. How you go about doing that when the institution itself is so grindingly corrupted and perverted by its very essential DNA. I'd love to sit down and talk with these guys and ask them exactly how they're going to do it.
It certainly seems like one of today's issues that the economy is running on and based on is, similarly destructive to human beings and all life, shall we say, the fossil fuel industry. And it doesn't seem like those guys are going to volunteer anytime soon unless they all drop off at the same time like the Koch brother did.
Well, we're all hoping for a family reunion, but that's not...
in hell.
But that's not going to happen anytime soon. They've got great health care, unfortunately.
I really like your attitude. I really appreciate it. I was a little hesitant to be like, my feeling was, okay, when I heard the news, it was hard to not... someone who's just brought so much destruction on the world and on people, it's just hard to be like, okay, we're better off,
Well, there is the thought that I saw plenty of people on Twitter and elsewhere being like, if we go and we say bad things about this person now that he's dead, they're going to use it against us. I'm like,
we've been saying bad things when they're alive.
They're going to say
not
bad
like we're going to
things
swap
about us no matter what we say or do. I'm not. Let's try to not play scared, shall we? And
Thank you.
Tell some truth while we still draw breath. Yeah, sure. I mean, the man was a human wrecking ball, and calling it for what it is not a crime or a sin.
So you're talking about the impossibility of fixing this. So then, what is your solution? I'm sorry I haven't read your article. I'm looking forward to it. But so I don't know if you put a solution in there. But so what's to be done?
What do we do?
What's to be done is a caustic rearrangement of priorities. It isn't merely just the starting point of the solution is coming to grips with the understanding that the people who have benefited so much from the machine are not going to throw sand in the gears of that machine. It is simply not going to start with that. I love the idea of not making the shareholders' profit being the sole impetus of the economy, but they're not going to make that happen. They're talking about it so they get today's headline in the Post and the Times. Actual reform is going to be from the bottom up. It's going to require local state legislators passing better labor laws, passing fair wage laws, actually realizing that stop signs and streetlights are socialism right along with garbage men and getting your streets plowed when it snows. So let's stop boogeymanning that word, because we've been an effective socialist nation for more than 60 years. And let's all just sort of get used to that and appreciate it and stop pulling up the ladder behind us whenever any one of us happens to succeed.
Right answer.
So
That's
if it's gonna come from the ground up, then that means that the swell hasn't hit the current crop of Democratic candidates. So what's your call on that?
Well, I think it's hit Bernie Sanders, and I think to a degree it's hit Elizabeth Warren. Although Elizabeth Warren is still of the mindset that American-style capitalism, as it stands, can be fixed. Maybe she thinks differently and is just not saying it out loud. I like Elizabeth Warren a lot. I voted for her when I lived in Massachusetts. I think she's phenomenal, and I think she'd make a great president. I think Bernie would make a great president. The rest of these people, Joe Biden doesn't know what state he's in. I walked past the press gaggle when he did that. I was there. He was standing in front of Lindy's Diner in Keene, New Hampshire, which is my favorite restaurant. So, ladies and gentlemen, the front runner. It's going to be a long 15 months.
We're speaking with William Rivers Pitt, senior editor and lead columnist at Truthout. He's a New York Times and internationally best-selling author of 4 books, living and working in New Hampshire. I really appreciate you coming on the program today, and I hope you'll join us again. And thanks for all the work that you've been doing to get the truth actually out.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I could do this all day. This is great.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're going to call you back in a week and see if we want to do it again.
Do.
All right.
You know where to find me.
Thank you so much. You're listening to Waking Up. I'm Juliana Forlano. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's our kind of guy.
He's our kind of guy.
Yeah,
He likes the jokes and the sound effects.
Yeah.
And he's smart and amazing and radical. What else do you need? All right, we are. Something I wanted to report. We're going to get our man Arthur Schwartz on the line to talk about what's coming up at 5 p.m. here on WBAI in New York City. By the way, if you miss our show, you can listen to it on the archives at WBAI.org. You can listen. I think they're all available for 90 days, so you can go back and listen to the whole summer's worth of shows. Or actually, they're as it turns out, they're perpetually available forever, ruining my political career.
Always and forever.
By the way, okay, this is what happened. I do want to report on this because on Friday we had a report on the action that was happening to save the Amazon rainforest here in New York City. Apparently there was a good turnout there. It was a great day for activism, lovely weather for activism. But those actions happened all over the world, including in London. Activists threw red paint on the embassy of Brazil. These are huge actions happening all over the place, and Brazil is feeling the heat. The New York Times is reporting that the Brazilian president, Bolsonaro, is sending the military to fight the Amazon fires as these protests are growing. Now, Bolsonaro spent his whole life working to loosen environmental laws and open up the Amazon to industry, and now these large stretches of rainforest are on fire. He's saying that NGOs are starting because that's what NGOs are all about, starting fires to embarrass dictators. That's what they're all about, not doing good in the world. That's what he's been saying. But anyway, he has been, he sees that these protests are happening at embassies. There are France, Germany, a number of places are suggesting that they are going to take trade actions, etc., against him. I believe it was the G7 conference that happened. They're calling it, Emmanuel Macron, possibly not your favorite person, but he's calling it an international crisis. And the British Prime Minister and German Chancellor are backing him up on that. Bolsonaro's son, a nominee to be the U.S. ambassador, called Macron an idiot, by the way. So, clearly they're just worried about the trade sanctions that might come on them from Europe. So we'll see if they actually do send the military as they are promised. But do you send the military to fight fires that you've set yourself? It doesn't seem.
It looks like the military will probably be going in and rounding up the NGOs on the charges of starting the fires in order to.
Yeah, that could happen too.
That's probably why they're really going.
Get out of there. Anyway, I do think the international pressure is showing that it is working, so we must keep it up. I will keep reporting to you when the next Stop the Amazon Fires protests are happening. But right now we have Arthur Schwartz on the line with us to talk about what is coming up on WBAI at 5 p.m. on his program, Advocating for Justice. Arthur, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
You sound so sad. Did you have a bad weekend? What
It's the
happened?
first conversation of the day, that's all.
Oh, you don't have a cat?
Well, actually, the cat woke me up at 6.
Oh, as cats are wont to do.
Yeah,
And I did
asked
have a
we asked the
conversation.
cat to do that.
We called ahead. Victor, excuse me. Oh boy, you're cracking me up. Arthur, what's happening on the show tonight?
So today I'm going to have Dee or Don Guttenplan, who is the editor of The Nation,
Oh,
on my show. We sat for 3 hours yesterday talking about what we should talk about for an hour today.
isn't that the best? And I always wish I had taped those conversations because they're where the juice is at.
And what's very interesting is I met Don. I hadn't talked to him for about 46 years, 45, somewhere around that. We were in the same college, Columbia, and he was a freshman when I was a senior. And apparently, he was at a dorm meeting with the president of the university when I came in with some other students and started irreverently questioning the university president. And he was a freshman who was like astounded that one could be so disrespectful to somebody of such great authority.
Oh,
And
that's
he
wonderful.
claims that I helped launch him on his road to irreverence. So
Corrupting the
story.
youth. Good work.
Good story.
That's wonderful. We all have those people who show us that you don't have to step in line with what's being told to you. And hopefully we here at WBAI in general are part of that mission. What are you going to talk about? What'd you boil it down to?
I think we're not going to talk about Trump, but we're going to talk about the election. We're going to talk about what it means that 40% of in the polls that 40% of the Democrats are favoring Warren and
Yay.
And Sanders. What the potential is for the kind of candidacy that may come out of this current situation in the Democratic Party. What we need to be, what the potential is for the next election if the right person opposes Trump, and so.
Excellent. Well, that sounds good. 5 p.m. is the show, Advocating for Justice with Arthur Schwartz. Arthur, thanks for being on the program today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
right.
you so much.
Don't forget to listen, 5 o'clock, or you can listen to that, on WBAI.org, our archives. Another show in the can.
Oh, it was a good one, and especially on a Monday.
Especially on we're almost out of time.
Yeah. So
Final words?
Just everybody come on over to Penn Station, Newark, and join the Newark Water Coalition in protesting the poisoning of people over there, and get a distant and noisy look at the Video Music Awards.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hope one of y'all does wear your prom dress or one of those horrible evening gowns you were forced to wear to somebody's wedding and sneaks up onto that red carpet. And be sure to live stream that thing. I was going to ask him if they had any streamers on, but I'm sure you can Google it at the time and see what's up. The world needs to see what's going on here.
I'll be out there and see what I can bring back.
Oh, well then we will talk. But we'll look forward from a message from the king tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Richard Wolf joining us on the program, unconfirmed at this time, but he's a regular guest on our Tuesdays, so hopefully he will confirm as per regular. I hope you have a lovely day today. It is 77. Well, it's not 77 quite yet. So don't adjust your thermometers, but it's 62 degrees going up to 77. There is a tropical storm strengthening just down off the coast of South America, but it looks like it's coming right at the southern states. We'll keep our eye on that, and we'll keep our eye on pretty much everything else. That's our job here on Waking Up. Thanks so much for listening today. We will catch you tomorrow.